Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be taking a first look at the game Modern Tactics Afghanistan. It is published by VUCA Simulations and designed by Shayne Logan. If you are familiar with old school tactical, this is kind of a modernized version of that system. And yeah, we're going to take a first look and see what the game has to offer, and that will be followed up, of course, by a gameplay video or more. So let's take a flip here to the other side of the box. As you can see from the side, it's a pretty thick 3-incher, I believe. And here's the back. So you might recognize kind of the layout. It does seem relatively similar to what we've seen from old school tactical, which is, of course, published by Flying Pig Games. This is from VUCA. And going through the contents, we've got a rule book, the playbook with 20 scenarios, 2 map boards, 2 combat play aids, 2 track displays, a scenario display, 5 sheets of large 7/8 and 3/4 inch counters, 2 6-sided dice, unit scale, tactical, so it is vehicle squads, teams, and individuals. Time scale, 1 turn is 2 to 5 minutes. Map scale, about 50 meters per hex. Playing time is 1 to 5 hours. Players is 1 to 2, 1 or 2. Complexity, mid-range, and solitaire suitability just above mid-range. So, and you can see VUCA always includes this historical period bar on the box, and this one is a modern game, as you might guess, from Modern Tactics. So I am going to open up the box, and we'll take a look at what's inside. Here is our playbook, which contains the scenarios. This is our core rules. Okay. Decent length in size here. We run 48 pages. So we'll take a quick spin through the rules. I probably won't go too in-depth, but we'll see how things go here. All right. Table of contents. Glossary, always a good idea to go through the glossary in case you come across something that you may not at first glance know what it is. Like when I see HE, I typically assume it is high explosive, which is the case here. LOS, line of sight, etc. Some of these are fairly straightforward. Other ones you may want to, like COT, cost of terrain, number of movement points required to move into a hex of that terrain type. So that is a familiar mechanic with a slightly less familiar acronym. Here is our introduction. You can see kind of the layout of a sample game here. You got your scenario display up here. Your tracks are over here. We've got some cards at the bottom. And then you have your battlefield here with some counters and markers on it. So it goes through the various elements here. You've got as we expect, a map scenario display, which is right here. You've got extended play because you have impulse points. Once they're expended on the final turn, both players will roll 1d6. If the total is 7 or greater, you play an extra turn. Otherwise, the scenario ends. There's only one extended play scenario available. Goes over the track display, your victory point track, your enemy casualties, mounting losses, impulse point track, and your player aid, your various markers, right? You can see fired and used, pretty standard, right? Shaken. Main armament, that is, I believe, a broken, kind of an issue, I think, with the gun. Sequence of play, right? So we'll just cover this briefly. Pre-turn actions, you'll adjust the turn marker, of course, not on turn 1. It increases, so you would move it up 1 number on the turn track. Reinforcements, any reinforcements would be put out for that turn. Attach any leaders. They can attach or detach with units in their same hex. Shuffle support weapons. They can be shuffled between units in a stack. Smoke counters, you would have to degrade it. Smoke lasts for 2 turns, so it would start at 2, go to 1, and yeah, see, smoke are flipped over to smoke 2, and then smoke 2 counters are removed. So you start with smoke 1, indicating it's the first turn of smoke, I guess, in this case. Some of them do it the other way. Some games, I should say, do it the other way. Scenario rolls, any required die rolls for certain things on a given turn. with things such as OBA availability, off-board artillery, weather conditions, etc. Free rallying, all shaken and broken units get a first or free rally attempt using normal rally rules. Bog rolls, any bogged vehicles roll in an attempt to free themselves. Civilian tangles, any combat unit tangled with civilians attempt to free themselves and reform. You can merge reduced like units into full squads. And we have the turn gameplay. We start with an initiative roll. Both players will roll 2d6 for that. You have impulse points that you roll a number of dice set by the scenario to get a number of impulse points for that turn. And you apply the modifier for mounting losses if needed. Civilians and contacts. Any civilian counters are moved, then any contact counters are moved. Play actions. All actions are carried out using available impulse points until both sides have none remaining. You have your melee phase, and at turn end, we're going to remove our markers. We're going to check our victory points, and end of turn. Turns over, return to the stop for the start of the next turn, unless it's the last turn, in which we proceed to game end, where we check for extended play. And then the game ends, and you check victory. Okay. Gameplay scenarios in the playbook are used to set up and play the battles. Note that although many of the scenarios developed for the game are based on real-world events and situations, they should be considered fictional. All right, so it goes through the scenarios and their objectives. Luck cards, and initiative, and then your impulse systems, which is the engine of the game, engine of the turn, where you're going to spend impulse points to do various actions. It is set up to represent the uncertainty of battlefield command. The fluctuation of impulse points portrays poor communication, supply shortages, fear under fire, courage under fire, getting lost, disregarding orders, and 1,000 other things that do not appear in any textbook. The system can be frustrating at times, but it is also realistic in that chaos or friction is always a part of battle. The fluid nature of the battle will also change your use of impulse points. Right, so play will alternate from one to the other after the use of an impulse point or two in the case of a group action. Again, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritties. If you have played Old School Tactical, this system is very, very similar. A lot of this sounds really familiar, having played plenty of OST. Your unit and weapon counters. Here's your squad, so we get a nice look at what the counter looks like. I don't even have to hold this up because it's large enough for you to read it, I'm sure. Firepower is 5, range 6 in this case, defense and movement points 4 and 4. Then you get the so firepower is the inherent attack rating used against soft targets. This being a rifle squad, you would not expect to necessarily see an anti-tank rating on here. Range is the maximum number of hexes the unit can fire. So at 6 and 50 meters per hex, that's 300 meters. Then you've got defense rating, which is used when the unit's attacked, and your movement points that are spent moving through hexes. You have engineer squads, right? Again, I'm not going to go through everything here. They have special, of course, abilities that would go along with being engineers. You also have special ops forces, which would also have special abilities. They are elite, for example. They can use stealth movement and so on, as delineated here. Then you have your single person counters. They are represented as single people, such as leaders or snipers. They can't use or carry. They can't carry or use support weapons. They cannot capture or contest objective hexes, and there are some other things in here. You can see here's an example. He's got a command range. This is Captain Use, command range of 3, defense of 4, movement points of 4. So these are the example of leaders. Then you have attaching leaders. How are they attached or detached from squads? Armored leaders, right? So they can command obviously armored units, tanks, and etc. And they don't have a movement factor on here, it looks like. Right. Then we have weapon. Well, here's snipers. So you can see sniper has firepower, of course, and a range, which is much greater than a squad. and a defense and a movement point. Weapons teams, so these would be your machine gunners and anti-tank gunners, self-propelled grenade, etc., right? Anti-tank, so we have here's our anti-tank right here. And you got your firepower and range, your defense, your weapon team, movement points, no fire after move, right? That's got a 73 millimeter recoilless rifle, ammo out, red band, so you flip them over when they're out of ammo, and there's a blowback icon, meaning that the weapon has blowback. Then you've got machine gun teams and heavy fire, examples of how they're used: mortar teams, anti-tank guided missile teams, what happens when ammo is out. Then we get into vehicles. Here we have a tank. This is a Canadian Leopard 2. It's got a facing triangle in the corner. Again, this is just like old school tactical. You've got your firepower for anti-tank is down here. Firepower and max anti-tank. So firepower, again, is against soft targets. Anti-tank is against armored targets. Your max range, secondary range, so like your machine gun and secondary firepower. Flank defense, front defense, right? So armor is thicker typically on the front than it is on the flank and rear. Tracked movement indicated by that. So pretty standard stuff. Here's your covered arc, which is based on the facing of the unit. We'll get into this when we do gameplay. Then we have support weapons. Let's see. Yeah, so these are things like RPGs and machine guns and so on. Then we have data cards. This again is similar to old school tactical, where you would have cards that kind of give you an overview of the capabilities of whatever that could be, whether it's a vehicle, a foot unit, or a weapon card. Then we get into the battlefield and how line of sight works with some nice examples here illustrated. You've got blocked line of sight, degraded, then you have your levels, and 4 levels in the game: levels 1, 0, 1, 2, and -1. So you have negative levels as well, as indicated right there by a gully. And so, yeah, this is a deep, well, again, I'm speaking out of experience from old school tactical, but it's a very deep system, but it's pretty easy to pick up, and it makes a whole lot of sense in what you would expect. And you've got battlefield markers like cover, foxholes and trenches, mines, bunkers, wire, roadblocks, rubble, smoke, etc. Now you can see smoke 1 and smoke 2. Wrecks, right? So when a vehicle is destroyed, you get vehicle wrecks, which cause smoke and degrade line of sight. And they have height, of course. And then there's terrain, talking about your various terrain: open, roads, roads in other terrain, hex side terrain, right? So you got your hex sides there. Hills and gullies, structures, road and structure mix, multi-level and multi-hex structures, ruins, structure collapse, etc. Then we get into the morale and how you do a morale check: unit morale, good, order, shaken, and broken. 3 morale stages. How do you rally your units? Unit quality, right? Not all troops are created the same. Stacking limits. It looks like 2 unit counters, 2 single person counters, and any number of support weapons are allowed in a single hex. Hidden units. How can you reform units, right? Combine half squads into squads, I guess, basically. And then a unit actions. Wow. Here with a nice graphic. And then we have movement rules and different types. You have group movement, rolling cover, right? You want to hide behind the tank as it's moving along, or something like that. Stealth movement, vehicle movement, and facing. Getting bogged down, entering and exiting units. Transport, speaking of entering and exiting units, although that's not exactly what they mean in this area. Then you've got unloading from a vehicle, transport type, collateral damage, right? If you're riding on a vehicle or inside a vehicle, the vehicle gets brewed up or something, that's probably going to be a bad day for you, as you would expect. Assault moves, combat. So right? Combat is always the core of a war game. You got combat rules here, and then goes through kind of the basics, I think, here. And then you have your specifics about infantry combat, vehicle combat, melee, tank duels, and again, lots of illustrated examples. Then you have helicopters, right? You can't have modern games that don't involve helicopters because air mobility is a big part, especially in Afghanistan. And then you can have attacking helicopters and damage and hard and crash landings, helicopter transport, civilians, of course, another big part. You can see there are civilian counters. You can have a tangled one where it's in the same hex with a unit, which is typically not your ideal situation. You have hostages and civilian casualties, and then contacts, which represent unknowns on the battlefield. They could be enemy forces, weapons, civilians, or nothing at all. You draw them out of an opaque cup filled with a given number of different counters according to scenario setup, instructions, and drawn randomly when a given contact counter is revealed. Okay, airstrikes, talking about, as I mentioned, with helicopters, probably would want to have air power in general of the jet variety, or mostly jets. Let's just leave it at that. And you got your OBA, your off-board artillery, and the rules and things like drift here. So you have an accuracy roll. This is all pretty familiar to me. And then your off-board artillery strike, and then of course the index, which runs for 3 pages, and that is the rule book. Now, if we take a quick glance at the playbook here, so you've got your a little blurb here about the war in Afghanistan with a map, and then you have terrain, and it goes through all the various terrain that you will encounter, walled compounds, and then you've got special units and rules here, things like bombers, fighting age male, recruits, fanatics, research. This is a list of materials used when researching the forces and battles in the Afghanistan war. That gives you an idea of some of the things they used, like a bibliography of what was used to research this. You've got 10 Canadian scenarios and 10 American scenarios. And then you go through the various scenarios, right? So this tells you where it was, when it was, again, based on real things, but fictional. 12 turns, uses map 2. Your objective is relieve an outpost. You get 3 luck cards maximum. 4 coalition smoke. And then rules of engagement. The ANA, that's the enemy in this case, would set up first. Hexes are the objective hexes, which represent the outpost, and then other various things, your victory conditions. And then over here, you get the breakdown of the insurgent force and the, oh, I said ANA, that's the Afghan National Army. That's allied to the Canadians and the Americans. So you have your ANA forces and your Canadians. The insurgents, of course, were the enemy. Sorry about that. And then again, there are 20 total scenarios. I won't spoil the fun by going through all of those, but they are in that playbook. Then we have cards, right? So you have your luck cards here, right? And this is an example of what one looks like. And I won't get them out until I play the game. So you just get one sample here. So this is an artillery card, right? It tells you your firepower in target hex of 6 and 4 in adjacent hexes. Whoops, butterfingers. So you hit the mark, that's 6, and the 6 surrounding it would be 4 firepower. And then these are the unit cards, right? So you have your ANA here, right? That would be an ANA squad, I'm guessing, Afghan Army. And these have on here. So you would have USA cards, you'd have Canadian cards, you'd have ANA cards, Afghan cards, and insurgents. Okay, now this is neat. This is our scenario display, rather. And I don't know if you can really tell, but maybe you can. You see some of the texture on here. It's got a really nice texture. I mean, it is like thick cardstock, but it's got a nice texture to it. Like you can tell it's quality as you would expect. VUCA's components are very high quality. Typically, this game is no uh, no exception. Then we have our track display. We have two of them actually. Two track displays, one for the insurgents, one for the coalition, which of course includes the US, the Afghans, and the Afghan army, and the Canadians. And we have player aid. Again, these are all on that same really nice cardstock with texture to it. I mean, this is really nice stuff here. So you have your CRT for infantry targets, vehicle targets, helicopter targets, your terrain effects chart here. On the front, we had the turn sequence and things about units and their states, right? You've got suppressed, shaken, and broken there. Enemy casualty points for different types of units, and on the back, other combat, right? Here's your OBA, your off-board artillery, right? So that's what this is. You got your mortar teams, your airstrikes, your melee down here at the bottom. And the quality of the player aid is really nice. Like maybe I'm impressed by simple things. We get two of these. Now we get into the counters. The counters are pretty sweet as well. So they are large, right? They're nice, decent thickness. We've got our Canadian units here. You can see some snipers, some rifle squads, weapons team, some engineers, right? Some leaders, some support weapons. And then down here, you have some of your insurgents. They have various types as well. There's some fanatics and some markers, some fired markers, and we got some vehicles at the bottom. You got your Leopard 2, right? And then of course on the back, so you'll see the rack on the other side. Then on the other side of the fired marker, it is a used marker, and again you then have the reduced side of these other units. Okay, so that popped on out. So here we have a vehicle. You can get a good look at the Lab 3 25 millimeter M242 gun with its ratings, right? It's 4, firepower 22, 5 is its max anti-tank firepower. The secondary weapon, the firepower 2, range of 6, and then your front armor is 6, your back armor is 5. It is a wheeled vehicle, as you can see. And that is that. It doesn't have a turret. So the difference here, I think, if we look at the tank obviously is a turreted vehicle. All right, I'm not going to bother trying to push that back in. So we have more insurgents here on this one with their support weapons, right? Their light machine guns and RPGs and so on. Then these null are fake contacts, I believe. Got some civilians down here, some casualty point markers, some more Canadian vehicles. And then you've got your technicals, right? The old pickup truck mounted machine guns. And you have hostages and tangled markers on the other side. And the null is null on both sides. And here we have some of the Americans. So you got some Rangers, some rifle. You can see the Rangers have this is the back side actually. Here are the front side. So you have Lieutenant Torres there and your rifles. And the Rangers, it looks like the main difference that I see is they've got the lightning bolt here, and they also have one more movement. Captain Edwards, Lieutenant Cotter, Sergeant Howard, Sergeant Hopper. Demo charges, light machine guns, right? Support weapons. Anti-tank. Some teams. Then we've got the Afghans and their support weapons. Here are the contact markers. Got some wire. And again, more markers. Then we've got Apache, Chinook, Blackhawks, Humvee, Max Pro. And you can see victory points and contact markers. And again, the flip side of the units and markers, etc., including the wrecks for the helicopters. So this one is mostly markers. We've got some mines, trenches, rubble, cover on the road, foxholes, smoke, more cover, breach, melee. Down here we have fired markers. More vehicles, Humvees, lots of Humvees. Strikers, acquired and acquiring markers, and of course the flip side. And the last counter sheet, more markers, objective markers, your turn marker, shaken, not stirred, bogged, fired missile, rolling cover, airstrikes, main armament, control, no fire, weapon moved, destroyed markers, machine guns, suppressed, fired, and then some more. The Leopard 2. See the various things in here, more helicopters. And on the back, broken markers, your objective, your turn. That says 10 plus on it. Immobilize, strike, and so on and so on. All right. Last, but certainly not least, let's take a look at the maps. So there are two. One looks like it's a smaller one. So let's take a look at that first. So this is map 3. So I guess it's actually 3 maps. This one fits pretty much. It's like two 8.5 by 11-inch pieces of paper in size. But it's not. This again has texture to it. Yeah, I'm always impressed by component quality from VUCA, and yeah, this one is no exception. So you can see kind of the lay of the land there, so to speak. I don't know that the texture really shows up on camera, but it is really nice. And then we have the big map, which I think is double-sided. It is. All right, so this one is large. This would be kind of your more urban one. Let me move some stuff around and widen my camera shot here. Okay, so this is pretty much the whole thing. There's a little bit, my finger is literally touching the edge down there, and down here my thumb is touching the edge. So you're not really missing much, like a 1/4 inch on either end. Yeah, so you can see this is more like a town. You got a lot of walled compounds here, buildings and wall around them, and some roads and stuff. This is again the texture really. I don't know. Maybe I'm a texture guy. Anyway, let's flip this over and look at the other side. This is map 2. That was map 1. This is map 2, as you can see by the upside down 2 up there. North is this way. So it's kind of upside down, but get the picture, I hope. And so you can see here kind of, we got a gully, I guess, down here. Now this panel feels relatively smooth, and this one doesn't. It's very interesting. I wonder if it's, yeah, and this one here too. So it's almost like you touch it and you can tell that this is a clear hex. And you touch like over here and you could tell that it's not. It's kind of neat. It's a nice touch. If that is in fact what they were going for, they did achieve it. But yeah, so that is a look at the maps. You do get two pair, I should say, of D6. And that, my friends, is our look at Modern Tactics Afghanistan. Again, designed by Shayne Logan and published by VUCA Simulations. Really looks like a good, well, the production quality is fantastic. And I'm sure, based on my previous play of Shayne Logan games, that the gameplay is going to be fantastic as well. So that will do it for this one. If you have questions, if you have comments, you know what to do. Put them in the comments, comment questions. Put them in the comment section, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Other than that, I do want to offer you my thanks for watching. Ask if you would consider liking, sharing, hyping, or perhaps taking the dive and becoming a subscriber, unless you're already one, in which case, thank you very much for that. And as I always do here, we are going to give a big old shout out to my channel members. Thank you for supporting the channel at the hexed level or the countered level. I do appreciate it. And yeah, it's greatly appreciated. If you're interested in finding out more about that, you can click the join button, which doesn't sign you up. It just gives you a way to sign up, but it also gives you the information on what it is all about. That is it. I am done. It is time to get out of here. So until next time, I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel. And as always, happy gaming.